So that wraps up the motor rebuild on this Dewalt 735 planer. It wasn't a hard job to do. It's pretty easy to take apart. Take your time. Keep track of where all the fasteners go, which is not too hard to do. It's pretty easy to see where they go. The question becomes, is the repair worth it? This is not the planer that I've had over the last several years. I have a 735. It's just not this one. I purchased this one off of Facebook Marketplace. The description was the breaker kept tripping, which, if you've done any research at all, you know it's a known thing with these, and replacing the breakers, easy to do. So I drove 2 hours and picked this up. When I got there, he explained a little more what was happening. It was obvious that it wasn't just the breaker. I went ahead, and knowing that the repair possibly wasn't worth it, I went ahead and took it, brought it home. I figured the motor was burnt up in it, but I took it apart, and that was it. So if we go by the numbers, what I paid for it, what the parts to fix it cost, if it wasn't worth it for me to buy this one and fix it. If mine were to have this problem, you can make a case that it's worth it at that point, because I already own it. I already have use on it. Buying the parts to fix it probably made sense. But to go buy this one for what I paid for it and buy the parts to fix it was not worth it. If you've done any research on the 735s, you know there's two types. There's a type 1 and a type 12. This one is a type 1, as is my original one. The type 12 parts to fix the motor are quite a bit cheaper than the parts to fix the type 1. So I can put some numbers up on the screen comparing what I bought for the type 1 to what the parts would have cost for the type 12 planer. The parts are not interchangeable. You can't get type 12 motor parts and put in a type 1 motor housing, or vice versa. And you can't do that. So what it cost me parts wise to fix this, and I got the parts from DW's parts website. I forget the address right offhand. I can put that on the screen as well. But so the armature was bad. Obviously, you've seen that in videos. I bought the armature, the field. I bought the field. That was bad. Well, and since I had the motor apart, I thought I might as well replace the two bearings that are on the motor and new brushes. And then I also ordered the circuit breaker that goes on the front, that's on the front. I ordered that from Amazon. I ordered that as soon as I told him that I would that I was coming to look at the planer. So I ordered that thinking if that was really the only problem, the part would be here ready to fix, or have it ready to fix the planer when I got it home. So anyway, so the armature and these are for type 1 735s. The armature was 173.72. The field was 65.09. The bearings were $15.12 each, 2 of them. So that was $30.24. And the brushes are $8.58 each. There's 2 of those for $17.16. And then the breaker from Amazon was $16.60. Of course, there's tax on all that. I'm in Indiana, so I don't know what the tax would be in your area. But the tax on the breaker was $1.16, and the tax on the other 4 parts was $20.03. So total for parts to fix this for me was $3.24 even. I paid $2.50 for this planer, which I should have offered less, I know, but my guess is he had other people contacting him as well about it. So I didn't think at the time I would get it for less than $2.50, because I'm sure everybody else thought the same thing as I did. If it's just the breaker kicking out, it's a $17 fix, and for basically $275 roughly, 265, 267, whatever the math is, you'd have a Dewalt 735. So also in the number that I didn't put in here was, it was a 4-hour round trip for me to go pick this up. That was the other reason why I went ahead and took it. It's because I drove 2 hours to look at it. Well, I knew I was going to. I drove 2 hours. I could have walked away, but I told him I would take it, knowing that I could fix it, probably sell it and get the majority of my money back. But then also, I thought of it as an opportunity to make this video right here. So, so that's what I did. So was it worth it? If I didn't have, if you didn't own it and you bought this like I did for $2.50, you bought both for the parts for $574 total, that's really not worth what I did here. Now, if my planer had the same problem that I've owned for 10 years, for $324 to replace those parts, that's probably worth it, because you're looking at probably roughly half of what a new one is. I haven't looked lately to see what they're going for, so my guess is anywhere from $599 to $699, or anywhere between $600 to $700 is going to be my guess. So if mine broke and I bought the parts, I think it'd be worth it. To buy a used one off somebody, unless you got it for $50 or $100 and then bought the parts and fixed it, I don't think it would be worth it. Like I said, unless you got it for $50, $100, and then maybe it's worth it. So it was easy to do, got it back together, works just fine. You saw me playing down this piece of oak down to a 1/2 inch. Because I did that because I also had to set the ruler gauge and all that, and the depth of cut gauge on the front. I had to recalibrate all that, which was easy to do. So it's back to working like normal. It's easy to do. I think it's, pretty much, if you do this kind of stuff, you can probably handle replacing these parts and getting that motor back up and running. I replaced the breaker. If this happened to mine, I know how often the breaker's been tripped. I don't even know if I've ever tripped this breaker in the front. because I take light passes, knowing that I just don't want to work it that hard. But after talking to the gentleman when I was purchasing this, it sounded like he tried to, run it and see what was happening and doing different things. I didn't know how many times this breaker had been tripped. And every time you trip the breaker, it just gets weaker and weaker. If you've done any research on the 735s and breaker tripping, you know that's it. That's one of the main issues. So I went ahead and bought it, replaced it. Could have been fine with the old one. I don't know, but I was like, for $16, I've already spent this. I might as well replace it. So anyway, got it back together. Good to go. I hope this information can help somebody if they're having an issue with errors, or help you make a decision on whether or not you should do the same path I've done. The other thing, when you're thinking about this, if you run into one that somebody's selling that they burnt the motor up or whatever the case may be, if it's a Type 12, it's a little more. It's cheaper to buy the parts. I think the field is roughly the same. It might be around $53 or something. The armature is way cheaper for the Type 12 than it is for the Type 1. So that's where it makes the Type 12 a little more bearable to fix. So that's something to keep in mind if you're looking at one that somebody's selling because it doesn't run anymore, or whatever the case may be. Is it a Type 1 or Type 12? I don't know if there's anything else different on those two types. All I know is the motor parts are different. An interesting thing would be, could you buy all the parts for, say, a Type 12 motor and put it together? And will that motor housing and motor, will that fit in a Type 1 frame chassis? Because there's pins in there for the motor and all that. So I have no idea. I just had an interesting thought while I was working on this that maybe that's a possibility. Not something I'm willing to buy a bunch of parts for to try. So I hope this helps someone. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer anything that any questions anybody might have. This is the first one I've ever done. I've never had one burn a motor up. Mine's worked great for 13 years, 12 years. I don't even know how long I've had it. So I haven't had any issues out of mine, the original one I've had. So this is the first time I've ever had one this far apart. It's the first time I've ever rebuilt a motor in one. And like I said, it was easy. I would do it again. If mine quit tomorrow, yeah, I would probably buy the parts and replace it. So I don't anticipate mine quitting tomorrow, but who knows? So anyway, I hope you found this useful. I'm trying to do more videos. It's been a while since I've had one. So if you, enjoyed this or found this useful, please subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to try to be more frequent in the videos and things I do. So have a good day. And until next time, stay safe.
That's